Good morning. Today's service is part of the Social Justice Committee's series of services to educate and agitate the congregation about specific social justice issues. We are fortunate to have a guest speaker Yadira Chavez of Citizenship Legal Services to talk about the work that the organization does here in Napa County to help green card holders become U.S. citizens and many other services. But before I invite Yadira to the microphone, I'd like to highlight our congregation's NVUU's participation in this effort and also share my views about the larger immigration landscape. Before the pandemic, NVUU hosted several citizenship workshops right here in the space, and several members volunteered during these sessions, including Lenore, and Dolores Wilson was also very active in some of the immigration classes, and Rick Marshall, when he was a member here, did a lot of work. Margaret Craig, Maggie helped out, Maggie Ingalls, and I know there were others. And Cindy, I knew I left someone out. Oh, sorry. And then there may be others. I always enjoyed volunteering during these sessions because it was really a positive atmosphere. After the 2016 election, we heard from several applicants. They commented that they realized it was important for them to become citizens because they wanted to participate in our democracy. As the pandemic restrictions ease, I expect we will have volunteer opportunities again to work directly with the citizenship applications. I hope you will consider making some time to help in this effort. The final step to become citizens is vital, but the country needs to reform the entire immigration and asylum process. As a country, we need to live up to our heritage as a nation of immigrants, a land of opportunity where all are welcome. I know that we haven't always lived up to that ideal, but we can do much better. Here are a few high priority steps that need to be taken. So I've got these from some of the immigration websites, and I was surprised, especially this first one, that Congress is considering legislation that would end asylum as we know it. They need to hear from us that this is unacceptable. A recent Supreme Court ruling denied relief to immigrants who challenged their long-term confinement in U.S. immigration jails without a bond hearing. This means that more people than ever before could be confined indefinitely in prison-like conditions just for seeking asylum, just for seeking safety, family reunification, and a better life. Congress should enact a permanent protective solution for immigrants with deferred action for childhood arrival, that's the DACA or Dreamers, and also temporary protected status. These valued members of our community shouldn't be forced to live in the shadows. And finally, I agree with the America Friends Service Committee that we need a pathway to citizenship for all immigrants in order to fully address the needs of every member of our community. So Yadira, looking forward to hearing from you. Thanks.
Hi, just listening to you here speak, I was thinking of a poem that I read, and I want to share it with you. This is by Yosimar Reyes, who's an undocumented queer poet from the Bay Area. Okay. My sister is flying to Mexico, the lucky one we call her, born in San Diego, just as my mother crossed, the only one with papers. In the living room, we all gather, large maletas filled with gifts for loved ones we haven't seen. Zapatos, calcetas, pelotas, things we wish we could have gifted at birthday parties we missed. Print out photos of us to be hanged in the living room. all of us wishing we could be one of these lifeless objects to travel freely. Take lots of pictures, abrazos fuertes, bring flowers to my abuelito's grave, diles que les mandamos saludos. Algún día we say, my sister, our lifeline connecting us to the people we left behind. By Yosimar Reyes. So again, my name is Yadira Chavez. I'm here with my colleague, Nayeli Eusebio, and we're part of Citizenship Legal Services. Our initiative is a collaboration between other organizations here in the Bay Area, one of them being the Immigration Institute of the Bay Area, which is our legal service provider. We have Up Valley Family Centers in Salina and Calistoga, which also provide trusted legal services. Puertas Abiertas Community Resource Center, and On the Move. And our collaboration started in 2013. So in 2012, the Napa Valley Community Foundation commissioned the Immigration Policy Institute to do a study of immigration here in the Valley. And in this study, they found a lot of information, and one of the main ones being that the key finding was that 30% of local immigrants had obtained U.S. citizenship versus 37% of their peers around the state of California. So the primary barrier of citizenship was the scarcity of legal-based affordable services. So to address this gap, they launched the One Napa Valley Initiative, a campaign to create new citizens and a stronger community. So we have celebrated our 10 years. We're on our 10th year, which is a great accomplishment. We've helped 1,869 eligible folks to become U.S. citizens. And from that project, it also grew because not only were we supporting folks who were eligible for citizenship, but we also realized that there's a lot of mixed status families or folks just with all kinds of different backgrounds of how they arrived to this country, right? So anything from asylum to any type of visa, family petitions, deferred action for childhood arrivals known as DACA, quote unquote, dreamers, and all kinds of in between. So our initiative is really here for the community, and we have this collaboration is very unique because anywhere that folks come in, whether you go to Puertas Abiertas or Up Valley Family Centers, you're receiving the same information, which is trusted information, right? And one of our major things is that we're trying to prevent immigration fraud, because when there isn't services in the community, people go wherever they can to get help, right? So sometimes they'll go to what we call immigration consultants or notarios, and they're not attorneys. So they could give, wrongful advice that could lead to serious consequences. Nayeli and I, our main focus is to provide Know Your Rights presentations for our immigrant community. So we meet people where they're at. We often go to public schools. We tag along with Napa adult education, Napa University classes, and we just meet people where they're at, and we give them information of where they go in case they need any kind of support. We also participate in culture events or any type of community events so we can be visible to our community. And we're also part of doing outreach at faith-based organizations. Right now, our current needs for our programming are it's a variety of volunteer opportunities. Because we are coming out of a pandemic, we are returning slowly. So our volunteers helped us in different ways. One of them being completing the citizenship application with us, either at an in-person workshop or at one of our offices or virtually. We also have a tutoring program. So that is also a combination of like an ESL class and then also just one-on-one tutoring for citizenship. And then the other big part that is on pause right now, it was our DACA project. So Deferred Action for Childhood Arrivals, this was a policy that came from when Obama was in office. And this, I can backtrack. So how I got involved was I got involved with the Napa Valley Dream Team here in Napa. So I was born and raised here in Napa. My parents are immigrants from Jalisco, Mexico. So I was here with a lot of privilege, right? I didn't know a lot of the hardships that my friends and family were facing. And it was also like a big secret, right? Some folks didn't come out, didn't share their stories because fear of, immigration coming to their home, or just fear if you're outed that you could lose your job and just, not have that security. So there was a lot of secrets around that. And I got involved, I believe it was in 2011. It was because my sister and we were at Napa Valley College, and she just started volunteering with this group. They just made it up. It was called the Napa Valley Dream Act Coalition. And I remember they were working really hard to organize a Dreamers Conference. So it was a conference to help students who were undocumented, who were having a really hard time achieving higher education. And not only that, but once they graduated from university, since they didn't have legal status, they couldn't work, right? So they couldn't be a nurse practitioner, they couldn't be a lawyer, things like that, because they didn't have legal status. So I just remember just kind of randomly, they said, hey, we need help. Can somebody pick up copies at Kinko's or pick up some food? And I said, sure. And then once I saw what they were doing, like I saw their brochures and I'm like, oh, wow, this sounds like a really, like I should be part of this. So I went to the conference and I was completely changed. I mean, I was bawling by the end of it. And I think what was really impactful is that they were creating a safe space for undocumented students and their families to feel seen and welcomed and share their story. So I'm going to try not to cry. Yeah, and it was just an amazing group of just dedicated people here in Napa that really made a difference. And for me, at the time I didn't know the full story of my husband's story, but he was undocumented and there was a lot of challenges in his family because his family was separated. So ever since then I said, I have to be part of this group, and I helped organize a conference and we did a few things. We also were part of passing what is known as the California Dream Act. So it was that was a way for folks to get state funding for higher education. And at the time, I was a hardcore STEM major. I was like a science girl. So I was like on the path of going to UC Davis and really being, just focusing on that. And once I graduated, I was like, my heart really wants to be back in social justice, back in immigration and work. So after a couple of years, I said, you know what, I have to come back to my community and do this, right? So then that's how I got the job at On the Move for Citizenship Legal Services. And the Napa Valley Dream Team, they kept going. It was really, grassroots. Around that time, also the Napa Rapid Response Network started, which is a network of individuals who basically, if there's an emergency, if ICE comes to town, you call this emergency hotline number and you report it. Either if you're the person that ICE is looking for, or you see what you think is ICE in the community, you report it. And we have trained, trusted volunteers who observe the situation and help people if they're in that situation. So our collaboration works with these teams as well, right? Because it takes a whole community to be part of this. Yeah, and right now, like I mentioned, if anybody is interested of just being part of the different groups, or volunteering, whatever it may be. We do have an upcoming workshop. It's going to be on Wednesday, September 7th. It will be in person. So this is like our first in-person workshop in a long time. It will be at the Santa Elena Catholic School gym. It is going to be really small, and we are mostly looking for bilingual volunteers because our clients that are coming, you know, they're applying for citizenship, and some of them depends on their age. Some of them qualify for citizenship in their native language, and some of them have to take the test in English. And then for tutors, I know that our Monday class is looking for tutors and possibly like a part-time co-teacher for that class as well. And I'm happy to connect with you with which is IIBA who's leading that. And then also the other part that we it's kind of new is that we're helping more in just getting the information out there about the election. So one of the things that we did notice is that we've helped almost 2,000 people become US citizens, right? But there's a huge gap there of folks who actually register to vote and vote during election. So here in Napa, maybe some of you know, there's a new community called the Voters Choice Napa Committee, and they meet every month, and they are always looking for more participants. And that is our purpose, right? To get out the vote. And for Nayeli and myself, you said, you know what? We're really close to our students that come to our Monday class and our Tuesday class. So we'll start there, right? We'll call back the people who already became citizens and invite them back to register to vote and then hopefully vote. So that's what we did in 2020. And that one was pretty popular because it was, you know, the presidential election. It was like, oh, okay, big deal. So we did a collaboration with Voices Youth Center, and we had what we call voting parties. And we have a really cool YouTube video about it. I'll share it with you all. But basically we just got together with a few interns, and we studied what was on the ballot, all the it was like, I don't know, 20 propositions. It was so many propositions. So we use like the Easy Voter Guide. We're part of the Latino Community Foundation, and they had a voting guide. So we invited folks and we said, okay, let's break it down. Like, what do these propositions mean? Because one of the main things that come up for folks is that when they're so scared of voting because they don't want to make the wrong choice. And they're like, I don't want to vote for something that I don't really know about, you know, like they hear about it, but they don't really know it. And I'm like, look, we're all in this together because I don't even get it myself sometimes, but let's just do our homework. And then for this primary election that just happened, we did something similar. So we did like voter registration parties, and then we did a ballot support. So we just provided like general information, like what is a supervisor, who's running to be a supervisor, what does this mean, what do they care about, and just, you know, broke it down in very simple terms, as simple as we could, right? So that was quite a learning experience because it takes a lot of patience, a lot of time. I think it's one of the biggest challenges to get people to actually vote, right? And sometimes, you know, folks, they say like, you know, I don't really like the options that are there. So so yeah, so that's still a learning experience. We are going to make some time to prepare for this upcoming election in November. So I think we'll have a few more voting parties there. Yeah, that's kind of the summary of the work that we do. Let's see, I don't want to make sure I didn't forget anything else. And I think just some of the benefits. So another thing that came from the study is that folks, when they become permanent residents, you know, they're able to be in residency for 10 years. So their green card expires every 10 years. So some folks, they don't have that urgency or that push to apply for citizenship. One, they're probably maybe don't have the English skills, so they're very afraid of the interview. Some folks may have something in their past, like maybe something with immigration or with the police that really, really scares them, and they say, no, if I apply for citizenship, like all of that's gonna, come up. But on the other side, people that come to us and they say, no, I want to apply for citizenship now. One is because they just want to travel more freely and just more with security, because if folks have traveled internationally, you know that in airports you get separated depending on your status, right? So they're like, I don't want to be separated from my family anymore. I just want to be okay. I don't want to get sent to secondary expansion, all of that. And then the other one is family petition. So once you become a US citizen, it's usually easier to petition another family member. And then also voting, right? So some people really are like, nope, I want to participate. I want to vote. I want to learn about it. So yeah, those are some of the things that come up in our communities. So I'm happy to answer any questions now or after. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you for inviting me. I'm, excited to come back. I'm excited to have our other partner organizations come back. So hopefully IIBA can be here next time. Thank you so much.